likely is it that your baby will be in a breech position at the time of birth? And if your baby is breech leading up to your due date, can you do anything about it? And if so, what can you do? Now, real quick, let's run through some terminology so we're on the same page. And for this, I'm going to grab my baby model right here. So when the baby is head down leading up to birth, that's the ideal position. So this is called a vertex position or a cephalic position. Breech babies can present in a few different ways. They can present with their butt down, which this is called frank breech, when their legs are up like this. They can also have their feet more towards their butt, which is a complete breech. Or they can have one or both feet kind of positioned to come out first, which is a footling breech. Really, the most accurate way to confirm that your baby is in a breech position is by ultrasound. Before that, though, you might have some clues that make you believe that your baby is breech. Some clues that you can feel from the outside. You might be feeling a hardness up by your ribs that could be the baby's head, and a kicking sensation down low in the bottom third of your uterus, near, under your belly button. And you might even have hiccups that you're feeling kind of higher than your belly button. And that might clue you into saying that your baby is breech. But it's really your provider that can diagnose with the ultrasound to check the baby's position. Before 28 weeks of pregnancy, nearly 1/4 of babies are in the breech position. Now, I've set up 100 Lego minifigures to help us visualize these percentages. At 32 weeks of pregnancy, this number has dropped to only 7%. So in this group of 100 women, only 7 have a breech baby. And by the time baby is at term, which is between 37 and 42 weeks of pregnancy, only 3 to 4% of babies are breech. Only 4 at full term. Hermione's baby is probably not breech because she is magic after all. The reason that your baby is in the breech position, it's unknown. Some factors that could play a role if your baby is breech could be the position of the placenta, the length of the baby's umbilical cord, the amount of fluid in the amniotic sac, or even the shape of your uterus. So the bottom line here is that you didn't do anything to cause your baby to be in a breech position. There's very little that we can do to have impact on the position of our babies, and most providers recommend a C-section if the baby hasn't turned by about 38 weeks. And it is rare, but in some areas there are providers that have the ability to deliver breech babies vaginally. It's in some specific cases. So let's talk about what you can do if you would like to encourage your baby to turn. We have a few options. Let's start with our no or low risk do-it-yourself techniques on trying to encourage baby to turn. So these techniques, they might seem kind of funny, but they sometimes work. So the first one is putting a cold pack on your belly up near baby's head to try to cause discomfort. So if they're cold by their head, that might cause them to turn away from the cold. So similarly, instead of causing discomfort, we want to cause them comfort. If we shine a flashlight right into our uterus down at the bottom of our uterus and put a little speaker, like a little Bluetooth speaker down there playing some music, that might be something that the baby wants to go towards and encouraging them to move, trying to get our baby to go towards the light and go towards the music. It is a strategy. So the next idea that could cause the baby some discomfort and encourage them to turn would be a pelvic tilt, which is lying upside down. So set up an ironing board at an angle, say on your couch or something similar, and you lie on the ironing board with your head at the bottom, feet up, about 15 to 20 minutes. I would get assistance if you're going to do this and see if that might encourage your baby to turn. Similarly, some people recommend swimming in a pool might help encourage that turning. Also doing handstands in the pool. Now, I've had clients do this before. They get their partner to help. Maybe they go to the gym and try to use the pool when it's not very crowded, so they can have some leisurely handstands. These are ideas that are low or no risk that you can do to try to encourage basically discomfort in the baby and trying to get the baby to turn. Now, there are other things you can do, but those are going to require a provider. So let's talk about those. So the first of these is done by an acupuncturist, and it's called Moxibustion. It's a technique where you burn an herb, it's a traditional Chinese medicine, on the outside of your pinky toes. Now, if this is the first time you're hearing about this, you might think I'm just making this up, but this is a real thing, and the research is promising with this technique. Now, it can actually be done on your own, but an acupuncturist is, I would think, the easier way to do it because they are the specialists in this, though some people do try this and order online. I'll put some more information below. The next one is the Websters technique. Now, this is a technique done by a chiropractor, and they're focused on aligning your pelvic ligaments. Now, if I was looking to have this done by a chiropractor, I would definitely ask what their experience is before I would schedule the appointment, because some chiropractors have more experience doing the Websters technique than others, so it would be good to find somebody who has a lot of experience. Finally, the ECV, or external cephalic version, is done by your care provider or another care provider, usually at the hospital in the labor and delivery area. This is a manual turning of the baby from the outside. Your care provider uses an ultrasound to get a look at the baby's position and then does a series of pushing on the baby in order to manipulate their position. This is sometimes even done with an epidural because it can be quite intense, and the epidural can help you relax and help reduce the pain and the experience, get your abdomen sort of some relief from pain. The success rate of the ECV varies by provider. It can be as much as 70%. And some factors increase your success rate if this isn't your first baby, if you have a posterior placenta, and if the baby hasn't engaged, dropped into the pelvis yet, you'll have more success. Now, the ECV is done usually between weeks 35 and 38 of pregnancy, and you don't have to go to your care provider to have it done. There might be a care provider in the area or at the hospital that you're birthing at that has a lot of experience and success, and you might want to schedule an appointment with them. It's something to have a conversation with your provider about. There's a great video that shows the ECV in action that I will link to right here, and I'm also going to put one of my favorites that I think you might like right here. So 2 options for you next. Good luck, and if you're trying to turn your baby, I hope you have all the success.